Hello, and welcome to Virtual Investor Conferences. On behalf of Harbor Access Investor Relations, we're very pleased you have joined us for our next live presentation from CleanTech Lithium PLC. Please note you can submit questions in the box to the left of the slides. You can also view a company's availability for one-on-one meetings through the Schedule Meetings tab found on the conference platform. At this point, I am very pleased to welcome Aldo Boitano, Chief Executive Officer of CleanTech Lithium PLC, which trades on the OTCQX Best Market under the symbol CTLHF and on the AIM under the symbol CTL. Welcome, Aldo.
Hi, nice to be with you guys and this opportunity to present the company in the OTC markets to the North American audience and elsewhere. Hello. Okay, I'm starting the presentation. Let me give you a brief introduction of the company. We are a company that was founded by myself in 2017. We've been listed over a year and a half in the AIM market in London as a secondary listing, as we mentioned, OTC, and also in the various German stock markets. We have two flagship projects, both of them sit in the southern part of the Lithium Triangle. They're called Francisco Basin and Laguna Verde. They're at 4,400 meters each. We'll go in details with that. And it's control of the full basins. That will come important as I go forward with the presentation, because it's part of all the direct lithium extraction claims, something we started from day one. With the aims of being one of the greenest, if not the most sustainable lithium producers of the world, with the combination of renewable energy and this direct lithium extraction methodology. It doesn't affect the brine where it's extracted. Overall, we have more than 2.7 million tons of resource. We aim to be producing 20,000 tons per year, in each one of these two projects. That we'll see in details the scoping study and the economics of each one of them. But it's a very going forward company. We put most of the money we've raised into the ground, 80% of that. We have extensive licenses. We've done all this work, and we're going after the European and North American market with the green credentials and much needed lithium to help the world go into electromobility transition. So let me just briefly talk about the corporate snapshot. 70% of our registry is in London. 30% is in Australia. There's a small parts of it in the US and Europe, but that's mostly the numbers. We have the market caps and indications here. The board and the management, the top management, control 20% of the stock, and then our largest shareholder is Regal Funds of Australia. Because of that, and the 30% of overall ownership in Australia as well, we've announced we're going to do a listing process in Australia, and we aim to do that in the first quarter of next year. This is the trends on the price and everything we've been doing. There's a lot of news and acquisitions and mergers in the lithium space. We have a very strong board, very rare in the lithium space, with people who have taken projects from early on all the way into production. Our executive chairman, Steve Kessler, is one of them. He developed the two largest copper mines of the world, Escondida and Collahuasi in Chile, as CEO. From everything from early on all the way into financing and constructing. He worked 30 years in Chile, lived 11 years here, and that a similar story to the rest of the board. CFO with hands-on, it's Gordon Stein, Maha Dawidi and Tommy McKeith just came lately to the company. Maha leading the Trafigura copper and other metals expansion over 14 years for 40% growth. Tommy McKeith also with experience in Chile, developing gold fields internationally, and some of the presence here in Chile, raised billions of dollars in companies as they've been growing, and also CEO, chairman, etc. Johnny McKeith, similar story, a lot of work in Chile, and he's the last three are Nets, and Johnny is located in Jersey, where we incorporated. Tommy in Australia, and Maja, it's in Switzerland. She's a Moroccan French person. I don't like to talk about myself that much, but on top of founding the company and developing, I've been involved in the development of the mining industry for many years, since all my life, but also very more specifically on the renewable energy sector over the last 10 years, with the three large projects of solar energy accounting for more than 800 megawatts. And that was my vision when I started into CleanTech again, being a very sustainable of a much needed product, lithium in the world. I assembled a team of more than 20 people with backgrounds from SQM, Albemarle, on the lithium stuff, but also from mines like Anglo American, Fremont, BHP, etc. We need a combination, and that's what I've been trying to do: a startup mentality or junior mining mentality, and also to comply with we're already seeing that with very strenuous due diligence, is both by the stock markets, but most important, with people who we have NDAs and are looking at our numbers and the way we do things. So we have on top of this team, an accredited team over the world, from Canada, from the US, from Europe, from China, and elsewhere, who are looking at everything we do, from the accreditation of the work we do with indigenous communities, with the Queensland University Center for Sustainable Mining, to people from Saltworks, a Canadian company who does various parts of the enrichment of lithium, from the person who wrote the Canadian Code of Metallurgy, who did an assessment and a consultant with us on our quality assessment and quality control project. And I could go on and on. You see a lot of women there. That's part of something. It has happened that we've been hiring by merit, and they're an important part of the company. This is a snapshot. You will have you can access the presentation in our website. But this tells you the 4 projects. We'll go again in detail into all of them. 2 of them, the flagship, more developed projects with economics, with the scoping studies, York updates, and big numbers, and the more greenfield projects, who nevertheless are very important for us. So let's start what I was mentioning about my vision. The combination of renewable energy and the combination of a direct lithium extraction technique that takes the brine out of the subsurface aquifers with an organic resin, strips the brine takes the lithium out of the brine, and then is washed off and enriched in a traditional way, like other evaporation companies could do. It uses 50 times less water than the evaporation companies. And the combination with renewable energy, it's and the reduced footprint of direct lithium extraction, who doesn't need large evaporation ponds. It means it's a lot less impactful, and it's a much more green approach to producing lithium. This was taken very well by the government, who we engaged in an early on consultation and work since 2017. Now all projects in Chile are required to go forward with the direct lithium extraction, with indigenous consultant, with more strict environmental impact assessments. And at the same time, the government is speeding up the permits, and it's going around the world on promoting investment in Chile with the tax incentives, and like I said, speeding permitting. There's been a lot of movement. The government wants to have more importance on the daily operations of the 2 largest salars of the country. Salar de Atacama, the government owns and rents to SQM and Albemarle, and there's ongoing conversations there. And Salar de Maricunga, where the government has a fraction only of the salar, and has just announced very recently an offer to acquire a $244 million Lithium Power, an Australian company who holds ground on that salar. Eramet, a French company, just a couple of days ago announced a $95 million acquisition of several mining licenses. Just to compare with Lithium Power, we have similar resources. We are also in advanced states in our 2 projects of detailed engineering. We're working on the PFS of one of them. And with Eramet, they just acquired licenses. We have more licenses than that. So So that it's part of the all the things that are happening and the government moving forward. What do? We expect as announcements? We already have an assembling a $2 million plant of direct lithium extraction bought in Belgium of a subsidiary of a company based in China, who is the world's leader in producing lithium with direct lithium extraction, and the plants they're building, Sunresin, who I was there 2 weeks ago, and that it will be producing 1 ton of lithium per month to be sending to final users, end users, vendors, etc., and who will be part of the strategic conversations. We'll engage with them in the near future. And that will be happening on the first quarter of next year. We'll be producing the 1 ton per month. And by the end of that quarter, we aim to have the PFS with a world-class consultant company called Worley, who's been behind most of the PFS and DFS in this part of the world. It's an Australian company. So that, and then all the progress of the project. How can we be producing in 2026 with Laguna Verde? Well, we need to finish the PFS in the first quarter, as we mean, the DFS at the end of the year, and then the environmental impact improvement, and then construct. We already applied for the permitting, final permitting operation contracts with the government to be able to produce lithium in 2026 in the case of Laguna Verde, 2027 in the case of Francisco Basin, and are the first private company to do so. We're inviting the government to participate in one of their special vehicles, the Codelco or Enami special vehicle. Enami is a company that supports the medium miners with a smelter capacities for copper, gold, and silver. But we submitted on our own, again, based on our credentials and the incentives that the government says, and the fact that we are an early win for the government in this strategy going forward in the world. So it will be in use, the drilling season, the updated resource, the hydrogeological work, the work with the communities, the work with the government, the engineering, more importantly, of de-risking the project and going forward. And on time to the conversations with the strategic partner to help us both the develop of the project, finance, etc. So let's jump on the projects. Laguna Verde is the most developed one. I will say, reiterate again, 4,400 meters, limited flora and fauna. We control the whole basins. When I came into play and acquired these licenses, these were not, they were off the radar back then. The price of lithium was very different. People were finding the next big salty salar, and they're not anymore. There's just 4 or 5 in the world. And all the development of lithium everywhere, it's on lower grade, but with the combination of direct lithium extraction, who takes 80-85% of the lithium in the brine, that compensates the lower grade, where evaporation ponds only have a 40 to 45% efficiency. We listed with 500,000 tons of resource. Now we're up to 1.8, more importantly 1.1 in the inferred and measured capacity. 2 drilling seasons. This has been a lot of work and a lot of effort to get to this point. And that has come to the first economic evaluation of the company. With just this project, $1.83 billion of net present value, enough lithium to sustain 20,000 tons per year for more than 30 years, a capex around $400 US million, and the opex below 4,000. Both are considered low, but in line with comparisons of other PFS and investments being done. But basically because there's no need to build infrastructure. Both of these roads, or there's a paved road going to Laguna Verde International Highway, there's a close by electricity, there's cell phone coverage, and Francisco Basin the same. And that saves a lot of capex and also saves opex, because the combination of Chile being a free trade country with 85% of the world's economy, and no tariff whatsoever to import things, and the infrastructure in place, who means quick transport up to site, lowers the opex and the capex, of course, because of not need of investment. And we'll see how that compares with other players in the industry. Francisco Basin, again, also 2 drilling seasons, also the work on the environmental lines, the hydrogeological reinjection work. but the resource is roughly half of that of Laguna Verde. Again, enough to sustain 20,000 ton per year operation, but in this case, for 12 or so years, similar OPEX, similar CAPEX, we aim to keep drilling and expand the resource. But the focus now is Laguna Verde to further develop the company. I don't know if you can see the numbers, but the little below $4,000 of cost per ton of lithium, where, by the way, we projected the long-term price on our scoping studies on $22,500 based on benchmark minerals intelligence and also Canaccord, one of our two brokers, for projection. And we were right when we did it. The price was a lot higher, and other companies choose much higher numbers. But go back to the OPEX. Roughly, the more important numbers are energy, where we have to pay the energy, even though it's renewable, versus SQM and Albemarle, who have the lowest OPEX of the world because they use sun to dry up and concentrate the lithium and the reagents. But we compare favorably with the rest of the direct lithium extraction players, spodumene out of rock, etc. This is the two projects who we've been developing as greenfield projects. Same story of Yamara as the other projects. A big basin. We control the southern part of the basin. The initial works is always surface sampling, geophysics, who tells you what is beneath the subsurface and where do you expect to find saline bodies. In this case, that low magenta color that you see on the left, on the bottom left, and we're initiating the work to get there and sample while we drill what we can find there. Salar Atacama, it's a more opportunistic acquisition of land. It's the largest salar of the world. It's the largest reserve of the world, the largest producing salar of the world. And even though 337 square kilometers sounds like a big number, there's a lot of players there, and of course Albemarle, SQM, and the government. So we aim to look for a joint venture and or work with others on that front. Again, we're aligned with the government. We've held off all the strategic conversations and all the bringing somebody on board, even though we have lots of NDA agreements with companies, car manufacturers, trading houses, large companies. And you see that coming into the space, Exxon, Rio Tinto, and a lot of movement. And because of all the credentials that we have, and we're going to be in production soon, the cash revenue out of the project and everything, we don't see any problem of getting a fund basically out of that, and not so much out of a capital raise. Direct lithium extraction has been around for more than 20 years in Livent in Argentina, producing salar that uses resin, but it just become very more upstream and more in all the new developments and more recently. Again, you extract the brine out of the subsurface of aquifers. You take the brine off with a resin. You re-inject it back in another portion of the basin. Importantly, you have to control those variables, the hydrogeological variables, and the basin itself, and we do. And with limited water, you wash that out, and then you produce lithium. 80-85% recovery rate overall, 95 at the resin level, compared to 40 to 45 the recovery of evaporation process, and a much lower footprint. I was just in China last week with a delegation to meet with what is going on there. There's four major companies developing the resins. They're developing different membrane processing, their multi-valve system. We have our plant already. Like I said, it's going to be commissioned at the end of this year and producing lithium and to send to future partners of vendors, final juices, etc. next year. But Chang Resin is the world's leader. They're the largest resin producer of the world. And we met with others, and we saw on-site plants who don't have one person operating them, or fully automatic resins with even higher recovery of what we've been testing, who are already high, systems who don't have a single downtime in 3 years, and brine who's been extracted out of salty lakes and then sent back into the same salty lakes without any impact on the flora and fauna on the surface. We were treated very well. There's no more space in China for new developments. All the salty lakes are being worked, or the grades are too low, and it was very well received. And can't disclose everything we saw or the things we've agreed, but we were very pleased on how, again, we were received and all the things go forward. DLE exists. DLE it's a path to go forward, and it's the path that this government choose and the path that we choose as well. Why CleanTech lithium? There's 4 risks to every project. One is jurisdiction. Chile, it's a major jurisdiction. It's the only developed country in Latin America with a life expectancy. They're similar, for example, to the US. Credit ratings the same. Most of the mining engineering in the world is done here. Bechtel headquarters mining is here. Mitsubishi mining subsidiary, who accounts for 40% of the Mitsubishi's revenue around the planet, is based here. Busalen, etc. And so it's a major jurisdiction, and it's a mining country, and with a strong code of mining. Then the second risk is the technology, who we've gone really, really into it, and then we started early on with companies around the planet, and we choose vendors in China. One, because they're producing, but second, because they're vendors. They sell you the technology, you sell you resin, you have options. Other people who we've been talking over the years, they don't have anything producing, and they want equity in exchange for their ideas or their process or their patented resins or patented ionic exchange or whatever they are projecting to take the lithium out of the brine. So the technology factor. Then it's the ability of the team to deliver, and we have a very strong board, very strong team. And then the last risk is execution. Taking projects from an early on to production, on time, on budget, and that's the credentials, and that's why we think it's a very important buy. If we do an analysis of all the latest raisings and the latest acquisitions and work and the capital markets, there's the in situ value of the companies, the amount of resources they have, and how they've been bought. We're still 2 to 3 times less value. I mean, we're cheaper stock, or we'll see if we receive an offer, but we really want to develop the project. But we're really a really profitable stock for those who choose to invest on us. With that, I rushed a little bit the presentation. That means we have a lot of time for questions. I will try to take the first questions. Please confirm the current state of the ASX listing. There was previously a message that the process was slow due to resources at the ASX, and it's still prohibiting the listing. It's not prohibiting the listing, it's delaying the listing. We were aiming to be listing around this time. We did all the paperwork and everything, and we're still resolving with them questions that they ask, and we go back, and they're severely understaffed, and we think we're in the final rounds, and the first quarter of next year we'll definitely do that raising. But that's what has been delaying us, just the response and how every question is addressed, and the back and forth of those things. Have you received positive or negative feedback for the sales at this stage? Okay. We submitted because the government told us to do so. They said this is a good way of showing the government the future of the national lithium policy. The government said we are going to engage now, and that they're doing right now, in a conversation with indigenous communities around the country to see what they think of the various players. And the government keeps coming back to us, how you guys did it. That the communities in your area are organized. They're 2,000 meters below us. They're 100 kilometers away, but we drive through them, and they have animals who go back and up and down. They don't leave, or they don't go to site. There's no flora for the animals where we are. But we really, from day one, engage in an early engagement with them, and that moving to early consultation with environmental impact improvement. And that's why we succeed. And we just hear what the government officials are telling us and the indigenous communities are telling us. they can't believe the amount of development we have with you guys, and they're very pleased. And they are telling the authorities, not us, about how when they visit the small unit pilot line, when they went to site, all the things they've done. So not only on that front, but also the documents itself, 1,000 page each, have been well received. We inform every authority, and we keep doing that under the lobby law, that and present in many panels like this in Spanish in Chile. So very positive feedback. We expand more news. Chile is in a constitutional process that will be voting a new constitution in December 17th, who's a more kind of a pro-business liberal constitution. So that explains that there's not official news about this, but in private, yes. And actually, the mining ministry is right in China, visiting the same places that we visited a week and a half ago. What is CTL view of Exxon's entrance in the deal? Oh, that's, yeah. Part of the direct lithium, everything on direct lithium extraction and the technologies, it's been around the mining industry for decades. Extracting uranium is similar to extracting lithium with membranes, with ionic exchange, with resins. The reinjection has been done on the oil and gas industry. Oil and gas industry developed fracking, and it's very similar. And at the same time, that knowledge is coming. We're actually working with a consultant, Celandes, who has worked in the oil and gas and in the lithium space. So we see that as a ratification of the need of big players coming into lithium. Rio Tinto acquired El Rincon for $800 million last year, and it's also in developing stage and with DLE. So that's rare, and it's important that it's happening. But Eramet, Codelco, there's many other companies getting into the lithium space, and we see it as good. And there's acquisitions who have been stopped because other people are getting in, like Gina Reynolds in Australia. So yeah, things are moving, and it supports the idea of the long-term profitability of lithium. Who is Regal? 15% owner. Regal Funds is the most highest performance fund in Australia. It's a large fund, very recognized. They're also in Canada. We work with Team Elliott, who is the fund manager. They came at the pre-IPO in November 2021. Then they followed their money in the IPO and did it in March 2023. And later in that year, in November, they went from 10%. By fund restrictions, they needed to be below 10%. They jumped up to 15%, and now they've been always following their money, and they're very, very supportive. Again, the best performance stock and one of the large stocks of Australia. Any thoughts of ExxonMobil's? Okay, that question was already asked. Let me see what other questions we have here. Please advise on the current cash position and the current fear of investments. Oh, that's very important. The pilot plan it's financed. In the interim, we have $4.6 million pounds of cash. We do have a cash burn, which has been significantly high, but because we paid everything, we paid the past drilling, we paid the pilot plan, and now we're looking at ways of funding between now and ASX. But we paid parts of the PFS. We're not in a complicated situation, but certainly we'll do some sort of a financing in the short term, and we're working that. I can't disclose, can't tell you what I'm doing, but we're fine. We're good, and we keep advancing on the various fronts. The money is held tightly and controlled in the UK with cash calls every month, with approvals for fund release, and all the major controlling economics is in the UK, and that's something we're very proud. Oh, we're running just 30 seconds. Again, any question, we're happy to answer. And just like I am, the company is very transparent. I just some things like the funding I cannot tell you, but hope to invest with us. Our stock has come down in like the other markets, and also because of the declining of lithium price. But we already rebounded 46% in the last 3 days. So we're again on, I think, on an upper trend. So thank you for the time and the